Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now, we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Paige, Shane Hurd, and Tara Diulus. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. Sorry, we're running a little bit late. We had a ghost in the machine, a little bit of a glitch, but we're here now. We're here live. Thank you all for being here with us. We are MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? We have got a couple of great guests for you tonight. We have Jeff MacBurnie and Carl Andreasen from Mount Wilson Ranch. And as you guys know, the Colorado Ranch and Mount Wilson are on wonderful Beyond Skinwalker. And I just recently got to meet Jeff in person and visit his beautiful ranch, and I'm excited to have them on the show. I would first like to bring in my co-host, Tara Diulus. You can see Tara right here on Sky Tour live stream with Mark D'Antonio right here on KGRA. Hey, Kathleen, thanks for hanging in there with us. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. I wanted to mention a couple conferences. We have Contact in the Desert coming the end of May 30th through June 3rd. You can check out tickets and all their speakers and all the events at contactinthedesert.com. And also we have the MUFON Symposium opening up at mufonsymposium.com. That's going to be out there in Irving, Texas, July 11th through July 14th. So hopefully you guys can make it out to the symposium this year. Any other news? I don't think so. How you been? How was your week, Tara?
Hi. Been great. Just doing a lot of housework, and I'm just wondering, Katie, I know, a lot of laundry. Have you ever had any housework nightmares, Katie?
No, never.
None of us have.
I don't do housework. I don't cook. I don't clean. No, I'm just kidding.
That sounds like a nightmare. or a dream. I don't know. Well, today's meme is inspired by housework nightmares. So it finds a couple in bed where one just turned on the light, and at the foot of the bed is this green alien tentacled creature monster thing. And then the woman sighs, "Oh, thank God," because in the dark I thought it was a pile of laundry.
I wish I had a picture of my pile of laundry in my room, because I kid you not, it's bigger than that. It's like Katie's Mount Everest of laundry.
Oh my God.
I just don't have a closet space. I even have half my wardrobe down under the house because I'm just out of space. Anyway, so that's funny. I need a copy of that one.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And what do you have for a product?
I'd rather it be an alien being than laundry any day. Well, today's product is inspired by our guests. Now they didn't know I was going to do this, but I wanted to share with you a brief snapshot of the Mount Wilson website.
Cool.
So it's at mountmtwilsonranch.com, and where, of course, there are legends of UFO sightings, ghosts, lost gold, and a bunch of other mysteries, apparently. So they're located just north of Las Vegas, and it has a storied past, this ranch does, that hopefully we will get to hear more about. So before Skinwalker Ranch, researchers were looking for UFOs and portals and paranormal activity at Mount Wilson Ranch. So you can even go to YouTube. They have a full documentary. And look how beautiful the land is out there. It's just gorgeous. So you can also visit their blog, where you can find more information about their appearances on like the History Channel. So you and I, Katie, can't go there for a few days on vacation or anything, but well, Mount Wilson Ranch only hosts large groups with special interests in paranormal and research activities. And maybe the guys can tell us more about that. But interested groups can do lots of other things as well when they're on the ranch. They offer lots of guided or unguided activities. Look how beautiful that is. You can go hiking and mountain biking, horseback riding, trail riding, sky watching. Oh, how about morning yoga in the meadow? That kind of caught my eye. That sounds beautiful. So research groups can reserve and plan their experience on the ranch, but for those of us who can't make it there in person for whatever reason, why not visit their online store? It's an Etsy store. And there it is, the Mount Wilson Ranch. Go to the Etsy and you can find your little piece of Mount Wilson Ranch by purchasing one of their fun products. Yep, there's something for everyone. They have t-shirts and hoodies and cups and glassware and stationery and coasters, all sorts of fun stuff. So visit mountwilsonranch.com and shop or learn more about this interesting place. And I can't wait to talk to our guest to find out more information about it. It's very cool. Very cool.
I got to order my coffee mug.
Yes.
What was I thinking?
That's what we need today is our Mount Wilson Ranch mugs. So
yeah, I know. Dang it.
Yeah, really cool though.
So Tara, do you have a Mars case?
Yes, of course. So today's Mars case is a fun case. It comes to us from Ipswich, Massachusetts. It involves a family of 3, a father, mother, and son. And on February 8th, 1979, around 6:15 p.m., the father left the house to warm up the car in preparation for going out to dinner with his family. He saw a lighted object hovering over some trees across the street when he went outside. It was approximately a quarter mile away. And he watched the object as the object started to move slowly towards him. There's the object that he drew. He noticed the entire underside of the object was covered with a cluster of brilliant white lights. The object was disc-shaped but slightly pointed at one end. So he got very excited, which I would have too, and ran into the house to get his wife and son. The wife came out and was the next to see the object. She then noticed the object was slowly moving towards them. So both of them saw that. So they both became very excited and emotional. That's a big deal, fearing that the object would come over their house, and they were screaming for their son.
Oh, man.
The son then came out of the house and saw the object hovering across the road. It was then that the object started to move to their left in what they described as a very light manner, as if it had very little weight. It seemed to almost sway slightly back and forth, as if it moved in a light breeze. So get this, the son ran after it down the road, and he ran till it descended slowly behind a hill near an outcropping of rock. So at this time, they all saw the object give off a dull reddish glow, and what they said was response to the object's apparent increase in velocity. So as it was getting ready to take off, it got red. So this scared them all. The 3 witnesses then went into the house and called the police. And so a copy of the police report is also in the file. And you can go to the next one. I think there's another picture. So the first picture was the husband's drawing. This is the picture the wife drew. So she says she's not sure, but it looked like windows were also on the object. The husband didn't see that. Okay, so they estimated the son drew that one. The 3 witnesses.
Do we know how old the son was? The one that ran.
He was in high school. They didn't have
Okay.
his age. It was redacted out, but he was a high school student. So, he was old enough to see that.
Right.
So they contacted the police, and it was on the same day, just a few minutes after it. And then about 6:48, this happened at 6:15. And they estimated the size of the object to be from 75 to 100 feet in diameter.
Interesting.
The altitude.
That big circle on the Rocky Mountain Ranch was 75 feet. and round. And it
Oh,
was around the same years, a
interesting.
couple years later.
Those 79 years,
Doo,
those
doo,
70
doo,
years.
doo.
Well, the lowest altitude was 25 to 35 feet. It was really
Wow,
low,
that's
right at the top of the
low.
trees. And they said the highest altitude was about 50 feet.
Huh.
So they watched it for over a minute as it moved from southwest to southeast. All three witnesses expressed their feelings about the craft, which at this time they were convinced it was a craft. And
Mhm.
all of them told the field investigator that they had been excited and frightened. They were also, concerned that there may be radiation coming from this object.
Right.
But they also said they were awed by the beauty of the brilliant white lights that were visible on the underside of the object.
I've heard that before. Beautiful
Yeah.
manuscript. There's a lot of people who can't even read that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
A lot of people can't write it, much less read it, right? I know.
Right.
That's what's neat about these cases is all the
Forgotten art.
different handwritten. I
Yeah.
know. So the FI classified this as a significant unknown.
Wow.
And they talked about this severe emotional reaction to the sighting. And I think there's the next one slide. Let's see the next one, Chanel. This is where they talked about maybe there was radiation. They were excited, panicking, thought the object would come over the top of them. That was before it moved to the side. So here is all the drawings made by all three different individuals and on one page.
It kind of looks like a shower head, but then it tilts up on its side. And we see that often in these cases that these craft will tilt on its side, and then, whatever propulsion system they're using, it seems like whatever happens when they tilt to the side, they go like hyperspeed or something.
Yes.
Did they see the object exit, I wonder?
They just saw it go over an embankment. It went up around a ridge, and then there were some rocks, and it disappeared. The sun went up there, and it overlooked a valley. So when he got to the top and looked across, he couldn't find it anywhere. So it disappeared. So it's just another interesting case that references the psychological and emotional effects that can happen to experiencers, even if it's just seeing an object in the sky. But this was very close to them, and three credible witnesses. Right. So very cool. Another fun case in the Mars, file. So hope you all get a chance to go look at those someday.
Get your library cards. There's just unbelievable, those historical cases. I tell you what, man, just seeing those police reports and the drawings, and you just spend hours upon hours scouring through those cases. Well, thank you for doing that, Tara. That's a lot of work to share those. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thanks, Katie. It's fun. I hope you all enjoy it. It's fun.
Awesome. Hey,
hi,
thanks
Chance.
for being here. All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about?
No.
Hey, Paranormal Pixie. I love that. Thanks for being here. Well, let's bring in our guest, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. More time, the better. All right. So Jeff MacBurnie, owner of Mount Wilson Ranch in Nevada, along with good friend Carl Andreasen, also known as Carl Crusher on YouTube, are full-time researchers and explorers of the mysteries of reality, looking into UFO sightings, Bigfoot reports, and locations of high strangeness. Both have worked extensively with the team at Skinwalker Ranch and the owner, Brandon Fugal, leading to their appearance on the History Channel series Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, Season 1, Episode 2 at Mount Wilson Ranch, and again with Beyond Skinwalker Ranch Season 2 in 2024. That's coming up. So, they were Episode 2. Episode 3 was Rocky Mountain Ranch, and I'm so excited for there's some behind the scenes pictures right there of like Andy and Carl and Jeff right there, and the crew back there. It's a lot of fun.
No.
Yeah. Both Jeff and Carl have been key research figures in rediscovering Mount Wilson Ranch and its connection to Skinwalker Ranch. Both were previously owned by Bob Bigelow, something I really can't wait to talk about. Mm-hmm. They personally utilized research in quantum entanglement, human consciousness, various meditation methods, and contact protocol, as well as working directly with Native American Indigenous teachers to explore ancient locations known for paranormal phenomena and UFOs. Please welcome to the show, Jeff and Carl. Hey, thanks guys for being here.
Hi, thanks for having us. Thank you for having us. Yes.
Of course, yeah. All right. So, Carl, where are you coming from? Are you in Utah or Nevada or
I'm in southern Utah, so
southern
I'm
Utah?
just I'm just east of Jeff right now, about 3.5 hour drive, kind
Okay.
of just south of Zion National Park. So it's
Oh,
really
beautiful.
beautiful
Oh,
over here.
beautiful. That's on the bucket list, Zion National Park.
Yes.
And I recognize where you are, Jeff. It looks like you're in the saloon.
Yes, I am.
That haunted saloon. So just really quick, I'm going to just kick off. I had the pleasure and honor of meeting Jeff and Nick Nack, his significant other in Mount. There we are, Mount Wilson Ranch. This was what, 3 weeks ago now, I guess. It's been 3 weeks ago. And we lucked out on the weather because right after we got back, how much snow did you guys get, Jeff?
Oh, over 3 feet.
Oh my
3
gosh.
feet of
Oh
snow.
gosh.
Yeah, and it's snowing right now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so you literally get snowed in there, I can imagine, where you're like can't.
No, we keep pretty
No,
clear.
you get
Yeah,
out,
we're-
you get okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Snow cat.
But we're sitting there in the saloon and I'm talking with Nick Nack, and there's a big mirror in the salon behind us. And
Right
I'm
there.
talking to her and I see on the upper balcony a shadow walk by up there. And she's watching my eyes follow this person walking through. There was no people there. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's kind of get into the history,
Wow.
Jeff and Carl, of how you acquired Mount Wilson Ranch, how long you've been there, and maybe some of those paranormal things that you've experienced there before we get into the High Strangeness UFO Bob Bigelow stuff.
Coming up on 17 years of owning Mount Wilson Ranch.
Wow.
Okay.
I found it in a little 25-cent newspaper listing.
That's
Winds up Robert Bigelow actually owned it. A little bit
What?
of negotiations with Mr. Bigelow, and here we sit.
That's
Fun.
amazing. So were you told very much about why and what Bob Bigelow were doing there on the ranch at the time, or did they keep you in the dark like everybody else?
We were pretty in the dark. I mean, he made some comments to me, which at the time didn't seem believable, I guess you'd say. There's an alien base under the mountain. There's a portal. There's some different things, and it was kind of in joking, but today it sounds a lot different.
So did you have any experience with high strangeness type of activities, ghosts, whether it's ghosts, UFOs, anything, before you owned Mount Wilson Ranch, or were you just sort of thrown into this? What was your life like before all this happened?
I come from southern New Jersey, so always at the beach or out in the ocean, there was always a lot of strange lights or things that you couldn't explain. Just a lot of unexplainable lights and phenomena. Nothing that I could say what it was.
Right. Did you have a particular interest in it, or not really until later?
Oh, I Coast to Coast Radio was one of my favorite shows
Okay.
throughout my life.
How
So
cool is that?
Yeah.
I've always been into it. My dad was into it. We're into the Wild West. We were into gold mining, just the whole
Fun.
West.
So you're like explorers and curiosity seekers even before you own Mount Wilson Ranch, which is curious to me because I happen to believe that all of us on this planet have, our past or our destiny, what we're supposed to go out and do. And apparently you are where you are for a reason. And so how did you and Carl meet, and how did all this transpire?
Oh, there's a book by Jacques Vallée, and there's a picture in there of the front of the ranch chair. That was displayed in the New York Post. Steve Greenwald, I believe it was. Is that who that was, Steve? Carl?
Yeah, Green Street.
Green Street.
Yeah.
So they had this picture in there 3 times, and they kept saying, "This is from Skinwalker Ranch. This is from Skinwalker Ranch." Meanwhile, it clearly states, and it says right on it, it's from Mount Wilson Ranch.
Oh.
So I looked at the end of this article, and I see Carl's name listed at the end. My daughter knows the internet well. She made some, contacts with Carl. Within 3 hours, Carl was back to me like, "What is this place?" He basically,
Oh.
he didn't even know anything about Mount Wilson. So,
Wow.
basically,
Isn't that
he
interesting?
Yeah, he's
Do
the
you-
guy. He
Yeah.
knows.
Do you think they were trying to keep that under wraps for a reason and kind of directing all things to Skinwalker or
That's what we've come down to now. You know, I didn't say anything about it for 15 years of owning it, you know, and then I finally opened up with Carl and let this out. I knew a little bit, but I didn't know what we know now.
Let's get into what we know now.
What do you know now?
Carl, you want to kick in on some of this, what you've learned since we've made a connection?
Yeah, I mean, holy smokes, we've come a long ways. So like when Jeff and them first called me, like everybody else, I really had no idea that there was a second location.
Right.
And then, you know, immediately some people and online, all I could turn up was that like the people from the TV show Ghost Adventures had gone up there. Jeff and them had invited them up one time or let them go up to film one episode. But I don't know that that necessarily went that great. And it's not like a long-term commitment to the researching the location. It was just kind of like come up for a day and then gone. Right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, you know, all of a sudden these pictures are showing up on all these articles. And at the time, I was kind of like helping the New York Post get some information, mostly because they were doing a hit piece on some of my friends, trying to debunk some of my friends when I knew better. And that the focus of what they were going after in those articles was kind of misdirected. And then in the midst of that, while I was trying to help steer that ship back on track, the you know, that photo got used incorrectly. Jeff got in touch with me and his daughter did, Jordan, and to me it was just mind-blowing that they were able to keep a property secret for over a decade, for that long. And then not only that, before him, how the MX missile program was up there, archaeologists were up there, and then it's there's so much evidence that Howard Hughes was up there. And I mean, we can dig into the really old history that goes back clear before Area 51 was even created. And and that a lot of it ties into like right before the Roswell crash happened, and the dates and the names. And the biggest thing is like not just Robert Bigelow and the Skinwalker Ranch team being there, but who was in the photographs that we uncovered at the ranch with him. They're all tied into the psychic spy program, these directed energy weapons patents, and then like Jacques Vallée and you name it, like the who's who of the UFO community,
PhDs and whatnot, right? And that was the cool thing that, you know, Jeff and I connected on too, because, you know, in doing the research on the Rocky Mountain Ranch and going through Dr. Leo Sprinkle's files and the original APRO files on the Colorado Ranch, I come across this photo. Some of them, I don't have them in the studio, but some of them were taken actually at Mount Wilson Ranch before I knew the connections. But Chanel, if we can bring up that picture of that group of people, I think I have the front of the picture and the back of the people. And this is to Carl's point. Some of these players really, I mean, we have the likes of, there's Dr. Leo Sprinkle there. Bob Bigelow has got his arm around Linda Moulton Howe. We have Greer there. Maccabee's there. Let's see. The back of the picture has all the names, which is really kind of cool. Yeah, there we go. Stephen Greer, George Lamb, Bruce Maccabee, Robert Bigelow, Linda Howe, Leo Sprinkle. We even have the Rockefellers and some of these people. So I don't know, Jeff and Carl, what do you know about these players and what do you believe they were researching there? And what were they up to? What are some of the rumors?
When that photograph was taken is really interesting. I believe that was taken in 1994. And, you know, it was at the Rockefeller Ranch. And what I know of this, and it's all speculation, is that these individuals all formed and were part of a group called the Aviary that was part of the actual UFO research and recovery team that was going around to all these sites that dated back clear back to World War II to look for what was still there.
Is that the same Avery that Richard Doty is a part of?
Yeah. So all of them, I mean, there's a lot of people not even in this photo, like Hal Puthoff and
Kit Green.
Kit Green and a lot of those guys that are in that group. And this is just like a small part of them. It looks like that posed for the photo this day, but
right. Even
yeah,
John
it's interesting.
Schuessler,
Like
that,
they all
you
kind
know.
of split off into their own little compartmentalized focuses of what they did, you know?
Right, right. So when did you start really researching and doing a lot of investigations on the Mount Wilson Ranch, Carl?
Pretty much it's been about 2 years now, right, Jeff?
Yeah, coming up on 2 years. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of it was just starting with the basics, like what was really there and what's not, like how could we match what's in the books to what we find, and then talking to other locals there in the community and people that live up on the mountain that have been there for decades, you know. And when all of those dots started to connect, it's like the more we kept digging, like literally and historically through the data, the more the dots kept connecting, and it got more and more intriguing. So yeah, now we've got 2 whole seasons on the History Channel going and a lot more going on. Yep.
Do you guys have the same kind of concerns about digging as they did on Skinwalker Ranch, you know? And also to that point, I know people worry about health effects if you dig. I mean, they had the swelling of the brain and other things. Do you guys, Jeff, both to you and Jeff, you both can speak to this. Do you have concerns about any of those types of things that are on the property?
Not at this point. I mean, we are actively digging. We've dug, and we're gonna dig more. You know, we're looking for something.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have any hesitations, and we also have a really open door policy to the point that, like, on the website we need to update it, because when we first created that website we were moving really quick with a lot of changes. Since then we've created, it's like $40, get a day pass to go hike around and take pictures and see the place for like the daytime. And for like just $150 you can go up and rent a room for the night. So it's like
great,
really easy and accessible. Jeff and I especially Jeff didn't want to do it something where people couldn't go see for themselves. Like we don't fake anything and we don't hide anything. If people want to come and do their own experiments, they totally can come and do that through the Patreon.
We're actively actually looking. I mean, that's what we could really say about this. We're in full research mode for what we're capable of.
And what are you looking for? I know there's gold on the ranch. Is that what you're talking about? Or is there some paranormal stuff too?
Believe it or not, the gold is like a sidebar right now. We're looking for, I mean, we've been directed, you know, metamaterials. That's exactly what we've been told we have to find. You know, we've been told it's here. And
is that
it's
from
up to us to
Bigelow?
find it.
How do you know that's there? Or what do you think he knows? I mean, you said he talked that there was a spaceship under the ground. I mean, what else can you share?
Again, you see, this is beyond me in that sense. There's something under there. You know, the ground penetrating radar from season 1 obviously shows there's something, an array of some sort.
So Jeff has had a couple of experiences, first of all, and then when I've gone up there, I've had experiences and kind of zeroed in on a particular spot in the lower meadow that seems to be transmitting or pulsing like a frequency or some radiation out of the ground. And so as that has escalated into further and further experiments, not only has the paranormal phenomena coincided with it, along with even UFO sightings, and some of it that we've captured on camera that's going to come out probably in June on the TV show. But we got information from a disgruntled former employee of Bigelow that leaked us photographs, that sent us a satellite image that is actually labeled that there was an abandoned, like an alien mining operation underneath Mount Wilson. And so we've since then brought in experts that have done magnetometer readings, ground penetrating radar, and we get a highly ferrous object, a giant triangular object about 200 feet down under the lower meadow that is reacting to our experiments. And so there's something there still underground. And that's all coincides and fits with what Jacques Vallée talked about in his books. even in his fictional stories and all of that, that there was an underground tunnel system with a UFO, a giant UFO underground that would literally come and go interdimensionally underneath that mountain.
Wow. So I think you answered Tucson MUFON's question, who leaked you that information? It was sort of like a disgruntled ex-employee. Thank goodness for those.
Whistleblowers.
and deathbed confessions. Now, in talking with Jeff, is there rumored to be these like freezers underground or any other types of things underground? And what perhaps might have the purpose for those have been? Have you heard rumors or speculation about that?
Well, there's been a lot of stories about what Mr. Bigelow was doing here and what he had here. I mean, when the film crews were here, Carl happened to be outside with me, and there's a gentleman from one of the utility companies around here that pulled up, and he got to tell Carl a story that I had told Carl originally when I met him. And this guy, he's like, "Are the freezers still there?"
Oh.
And we both said, well, what about these freezers? And he basically said, "Oh, Mr. Bigelow, that guy's a nut, blah, blah, blah." He said he was going to flash freeze these entities when he caught them, and put them in his freezer and go on his way. Carl was standing right there with me.
Yeah, they had a plan to use some kind of a radar system, like an EMP system, to capture a UFO, and then they were going to flash freeze the alien entities or whatever in these freezers and haul them straight to Area 51. And that was the plan. And it sounds crazy until you see what we've dug out of the ground up there that we're not allowed to show people.
How far away are you? Yeah, how far away are you to Area 51?
70 miles, 75 miles as the bird would fly. Not that far.
It's just to the west of you then?
South and to the west.
Okay.
That's not a stretch then. I have a visual in my mind of like proton packs with the Ghostbuster traps, except for these are large scale and they're going to trap the extraterrestrial and put them in the freezers. And who's to say they didn't do it in their underground? I mean, can you imagine if the two of you dig up these freezers and I mean, there's our disclosure right there.
200 feet underground, though. That's pretty deep. You think, how did it get there? That's deep. It's like Oak Island deep, right?
Really, it is it's very similar. The comparisons. That was one of the things that has been so shocking to me going up there I feel like comparing directly across the Curse of Oak Island is even more intriguing because Jeff has found these ancient artifacts like pottery and spearheads and the indigenous cultures that we've uncovered in the area that date back to say that maybe what's underground is part of this archaic tunnel system that's been there for maybe tens of thousands of years as part of a ritual site. So who knows how long this has been there, It's not just Bigelow. I mean, as far back as the written records go, there's been people up there doing ceremonies and stone circles and all kinds of esoteric stuff.
You hold those up to the light. While I was there, Jeff was holding it up to the sun, and they're gorgeous. Can you speak a little bit, either Carl or Jeff, about the indigenous people that inhabited the region?
Yeah, we have worked with the archaeologists and other Native Americans as part of a group called the Re-Indigenizing Minds Project, and basically to try and connect the dots between the ancient petroglyphs and the archaeology and written history, but also the oral traditions and the true passed down lineage and stories from the Native Americans themselves, instead of it just being told from the white man's perspective. And when we match all that together and go out there with this, go to these places where the phenomena exists or seems to exist, what we find and what we've recently uncovered a lot about is over in Mount Wilson Ranch, and that area was inhabited by a collection of people, mostly the Paiute, the northern and southern Paiute. And then there was the Goshen tribe and the Anasazi and the Shoshone that all came in and traded together around that area. But there's this whole movement called the ghost dance movement that was started by this shaman called Wovoka. And Wovoka, when he saw that the world was changing and headed towards like destruction because of modern progress. He initiated this sacred ceremony where they would put these stone circles on the ground, and the tribe would do a dance around the stone circle in a clockwise way, and Wovoka would stand in the center. And the story is that he would literally teleport and time travel like a portal into the future to try and help our generation to stop calamities and to stop the world from ending by helping people reconnect with the earth through nature and through these traditional ways. And we find these stone circles and artifacts, and we know that Wovoka and his teachings and influence was all the way up through the region and would have covered Mount Wilson. And so it's really interesting that the ghost dance rituals and all the oral traditions to that matches with the supernatural experiences and these sightings of the shaman that seem to occur at the ranch as well.
Right.
Wow.
Are there any traditions? I know at Skinwalker Ranch, they have the tradition of the Ute and the Cherokee, and sort of like this, some people don't even like to say the word Skinwalker. Is there any traditions of that kind of activity there at Mount Wilson that you're aware
all of that existed and was prominent across all of the tribes of the desert Southwest. The tradition of the shapeshifter phenomena, specifically the Skinwalker one, is mostly associated to the Navajo, but those tribes were definitely communicating and trading all the way across the Southwest into Nevada. So they knew about that, and it would have been a part of it.
Right.
Wow. Can you talk about how large the ranch is? I mean, how many acres is it? And do these anomalies or do these things happen all over the ranch, or are they in isolated pockets?
In where people are is where you notice it mostly. So the main areas, there's a few main buildings up in the western part of the property. Property is still over 100 acres.
Oh, wow.
So, but mainly, like, if we have like the paranormal, it's in the buildings for sure. We've had people camped out where they've freaked out while they're camping out. So it must be like a property wide thing.
A lot of the sightings of the shaman have been outside in the woods around the property, but also in the buildings. Like, it doesn't really matter for him.
Yeah.
So
I keep looking behind Jeff's shoulder up on that balcony where I saw the shadow go by. You never know what we're going to see on camera. So you guys keep them big screen the whole time. We're going to see something. I just know it.
And that was funny for you, Katie, because we've had that exact experience. What you did, it's happened multiple times. I mean, it's common.
Yeah. And you said back up in that, well, first of all, tell us about that beautiful piece of artwork. Where did that come from? Where did you acquire that beautiful saloon back piece there?
So this piece back behind me, this was all here when I purchased the property. This thing is an original from the 1840s, 1850s somewhere. It has stories of coming around the Cape, making it to the West. This is maybe the fourth stop for it.
Wow.
They put a lot of time and effort into building everything around in here, around this back bar.
Right.
Really extensive, but this was all done before me, just like the rest of the building, the main building, the guest house. Again, we're trying to figure that out now, like who exactly put this together. We have some names.
Right.
The names are friends with, like best friends with Howard Hughes. They did all the work for Howard Hughes.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what you've uncovered about Howard Hughes? And when we went on our hike, thank goodness Jeff saved us. He's like, here, put in the GPS. And had you not come to our restaurant, we'd still be walking around out there, completely lost.
It was a nice day out there, though.
It was beautiful. But there's Howard Hughes's runway in the distance. That's a picture of it. Can you talk a little bit about what you've uncovered about Howard Hughes and the history there?
Well, it's called Williams Landing Strip. And Dick Williams was one of the previous owners. Dick Williams owned a excavating and contracting company in Las Vegas, and one of his main clients was Howard Hughes.
Interesting.
The infrastructure that was built up here back in the 50s into the 60s was pretty extensive for in the middle of nowhere. You know, everything here, you know, power included, was brought here. You know, we're 30 miles away from anything.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody put some money into this to get this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a viable, livable place.
Yeah,
Now,
and that's a big old wide runway for large airplanes, and it goes in the path and direction perfectly for somebody taking off and landing, that's leaving that runway and flying straight over into Area 51 and landing and taking off like they're transporting something or stuff. So, and the connections there are really interesting because the oldest owner that we have on record so far that we've found is a guy named E.L. Norez. And he bought the property with his wealthy wife, who was from Los Angeles. She was an actress, a stage actress. And they bought the ranch back in the 1930s. And then he started a mining collective in Pioche, where he bought up all the rights to dig underground in like the whole county there, basically.
Wow.
And then within like 2 years, all of a sudden he was a state senator. And then right after that, Area 51 is created and the whole Roswell things suddenly occurred. And then the other thing I just want to jump to, that's another dot that connects, is that when we have all the pictures of Bigelow and his team up there at the ranch, like they go back to see what's still there. Those photos were all taken in 1996, which is the exact same year that the metamaterials showed up at Art Bell's desk in Nevada. That's all part of this whole U.S. congressional hearing right now about crash recovered materials that they need to reverse engineer. So I think they may have gone back up to Mount Wilson Ranch, recovered more of that material from underground, and smuggled some of it out by pretending it came from Roswell to get it into Art Bell's hands, into Linda Moulton Howe's hands. And the first person to test it was Travis Taylor from before Skinwalker or anything, clear back when he was still in the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Right.
So the whole thing seems like a conspiracy to smuggle metamaterials out into the public.
It really does. And we're learning more and more, I mean, just on the show about, you know, who Travis Taylor is, what his connections are. And it begs the question, doesn't it? Like, let's go there for a minute, both for Jeff and you, Carl. Let's go to what you guys think is going on with the congressional hearings. Why now? Why is this coming out? What do you think the end game is? Let's talk about that for a minute.
What do you think, Jeff?
Who wants to take this one?
This is a tough one. I mean, I wish I really knew. You know, I'm in it right now. We're curious as to what the health effects are of maybe like living here. Have there be something under here? We don't know exactly. I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole and tell you stories upon stories of, like you were saying, like what's underneath of here. Right. You know, we've been told stories of unbelievable things under here in the chambers that are down there. But again, we don't know until we dig. You know, that's probably the easiest way that we could say it. You know, it's kind of a straightforward thing. We know Bigelow and his team, when they were here, there's a bulldozer that's over at Skinwalker Ranch now. You know, we know that bulldozer for a fact was buried in that meadow that I brought you down to, and it was buried to its seat. So what were they doing burying a bulldozer? You know, what were they doing in that meadow?
Doesn't make any sense.
So, you know, what is it exactly? It's either, I mean, we have so many different theories about it, but I don't know.
I can kind of give you my big guess if you want to hear my arc of what I think happened.
Yes.
I'll give you like the Reader's Digest version. I think that what happened was when E.L. Norez started the mining collective, when he was going in there looking for gold, which there absolutely is gold, and Jeff and I have found that. But the evidence is, and what we've dug past the gold barrier and that gold layer, they were digging way past the gold layer too. Like they didn't even care about it. So they were underground clear back in the 1930s. And I think that they ran into something that Bob Lazar talks about, saying that one of the UFOs that he saw at Area 51 was from an archaeological dig that was something like 20 million years old.
Oh my
And
God.
I think that E.L. Norris and the mining collective, they ran into an underground lava vent tube system, or a cave system that the indigenous people had there for thousands of years before them, that they were worshiping something underground, which is why we have all those native artifacts all over the mountain and the ritual sites. And I think that they got access into that tunnel system, and they actually captured some kind of a craft or relic technology from underground that we would say was a U.S. I think maybe they came up with Roswell, or they planted Roswell to say that these things fly from outer space and came down from the sky, when real, like in New Mexico, when really they got it from an archaeological site underground. So it's kind of like try to get everybody to look this way and look up, when it really happened over here underground, like a opposites thing. And so I think they recovered something, and it makes sense that they just hauled it down those roads short 80 miles away and put it at the facility at Groom Lake. And then they built Area 51 around it right there. It doesn't make any sense to haul an entire UFO from New Mexico all the way to Area 51 on trucks and not get seen. Makes sense to take it from Mount Wilson down. Anyway, I think that they recovered a whole bunch of material there, maybe even biologics. And then that turned into program after program. We have the Project Bambi, the MX missile program, Ronald Reagan's archaeological team, and then all of a sudden Bigelow up there. And when Bigelow's up there, the metamaterials shows up again. And where did they say the metamaterial came from? They blame it on Roswell again. You know, and Jacques Vallée even said they were going to do that in his book, pretend that it came from Roswell to hide where it really happened in Nevada. So I think that's what's really happened, and what it's reached the point now to where all of those people like Hal Puthoff, Tim Ryan, all these guys, Kit Green, that are working on understanding the metamaterial and how it works, have somehow lost access to being able to study it. So like Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff, when they try to go back to the DIA, all of a sudden the head of the DIA can't even get access. And that's what came out in the Eric Davis memo. And all of a sudden they can't get back in and see the UFO evidence to even study it. They've been cut off too. And so now they're like going to lose their funding, lose their jobs, and lose their information and access to data. And so they have to run to Congress and try to whistleblow now. So I kind of think that's what's going on.
It makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Tara.
Well, do you think there was a crash at Mount Wilson then, in the metamaterial that you're looking for? Are there pieces of it just all about, and you just have to look for it? Because I've seen a little tiny chip of one. I think that Linda Moulton Howe had one time. I've seen it on, not personally, but it's fascinating.
Apparently they did a lot of drilling in that meadow as well. So, drill fragments, that piece looks like it could be drill fragments, pieces of drill, something, if they hit something down there.
The story is that it was a fragment that was flaked off of the hull. And this idea that they also recovered biologic material, we immediately think of like bodies, alien bodies, and pilots of a craft. Right. But the biologics might actually be that the whole of the craft and the material itself portrays sort of like it's infused with a sort of genetics or DNA and has a consciousness response to it when they test it.
Oh, interesting.
That would make sense, because we hear that that you can interface with the craft to fly it, right? That it has a consciousness that connects to your consciousness.
Yep.
So that would make a lot of sense to me. Let's talk about tunneling. What are the rumors you've heard about tunnels underground? Do you speculate that perhaps they run, somewhere through the ranch? And if so, where do they go?
Well, if we were going to make a guess, I mean, we've had, we call them the witches, but they were psychics, I guess we'd say, Carl, right? that came in and they actually did a seance, and they came down to, as soon as they're done, they're like in the middle of it, they're like, wow, the caverns that are under here. There's caverns under here. We've talked to, like Carl said, a whistleblower, I guess you would call them, and that gave us some information. And they said, well, when you guys get down into the first level of these tunnels, put on your hazmat suits and and put on your respirators.
Wow.
Because you're going to, enter into some wild stuff down there. Again, they've taken measurements. There's something putting energy out. We had my best experience ever here was this wild noise in the middle of the night. And again, we didn't know what it was. It came and it went. Nick Nack was here for that. Years later, during the course of getting this information from these people, one of these audio files was the exact noise that we heard.
Oh, wow.
I mean, then the explanation of what this noise is, would say that whatever this is active. So it's coming and going.
Let's talk about that cave. And here in a minute, I'll have Chanel run a little video clip. But tell us about that corner. Well, first of all, there's a picture of the cave from a distance. I think it's just titled Cave, Chanel. If you want to pop up. Yeah, there it is. So there's the cave from a little bit of a distance. But Jeff, you were telling me back in the back of that cave, you were standing there. And can you tell everybody what happened there? What you felt?
Yeah, one day Carl was basically he's a YouTuber, so he's out there doing one of his YouTube videos, and I'm just hanging out in the back watching him do his thing. This energy came through the floor, right through my feet, right through my body. It was like a pulse, and I stood there and I just took it in. And I was like, what was that? And then number two, it pulses and hits me. Carl then takes a look at me because he felt it too. And then the third pulse came, and it was enough that I just bolted out the door of that cave, went tossing out there because it was just a strange feeling, pulsing.
Wow. I mean, so there's a possibility that either there's caverns under there or a maglev train or something is running below your feet. Now, I have a little video clip there when we were in the cave, and Jeff is like, hey, kick on this and you'll hear that it sounds hollow underneath. So if we can run that, Chanel, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
Let's try again.
I saw it. It played.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, it played? Oh, I'm on
Yeah.
delay then. Okay.
But it sounded really hollow. He was kicking it, and it sounded just like a hollow drum.
Right. So it makes you wonder what's under there. We're already, this is flying by. We're almost time for break here.
Yeah.
When we get back, and I forgot to, I usually give our guests a heads up, but they're going to have to just play off the cuff. But we do a little game called An Evening on Earth with an Extraterrestrial, where you pick a location where you'd meet, what food you would serve, what song or music you'd like the ET to hear, what movie you would recommend, and what one question. So you have just a few minutes during break to come up with your answers, and we'll play that game when we get back from break. So we'll see you on the other side. Ha! I heard a dog bark. Is that your dog, Tara?
That's the Odie barking. Yep.
What's his name?
Odie. But it's
Odie.
It's Odie. There he is. Look how
That's Odie. That's Odie. That is the coolest dog on the planet.
Cute. Look at that red hair. Those red
Jeff,
ears.
Jeff, what does OD stand for?
Well, technically, she's ODD, and she's outdoor dog.
Outdoor dog. ODD. With ADD.
That's my
ADD. We had that conversation. I was telling Jeff, I'm like, I have ADHD, BQRSTU, BWXYZ. He's like, I get that. I do too.
Mm-hmm. We all do.
We all have it. If we're
Carl,
in this
you
field,
suffer from
we all
that
have
too, don't you?
Yes, I do, Matt. Yes.
It must be a common trait to this topic, I think. I don't know, right? Musicians, artists, and ADHD people. Okay. So let's play An Evening on Earth with an Extraterrestrial. Let's see, who are we going to start with? We'll start with the top there. We'll go with Carl first. So Carl, first of all, what type of ET are you going to meet with? A reptilian, a gray, or who are you going to have this meal with?
I think it would be cool to meet with the future type time travelers, even if that is the Greys or whoever's controlling the Greys. Would be really cool.
All right. And where on Earth would you like to meet them? Anywhere on the planet?
Well, I can't say Mount Wilson because I think Jeff's going to pick that one. So I'll leave that for him. So I'll say here near my house is a place called the Water Canyon Resort and Winery by Zion National Park. It's like a beautiful resort and vineyard, and it would be like a really good representation of our dimension and planet, and a beautiful place that is relaxing and nice to be able to sit and enjoy some of the nice things in life.
That's a great answer. Is that somewhere close to, was it in Zion or was it in Arches? It was somewhere in Utah that they had this like monument or something that was discovered. Whatever happened to that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that monolith thing that popped
monolith.
up out in the desert. Yeah, that was over kind of by Kanab, about an hour east of me. Yeah, I wanted to go out there, and then it was missing by the time I had the time to be able to go.
It went missing? Somebody took it, or did it vanish? I mean,
just disappeared. Yeah, there's just like a triangle in the sandstone now where it was, and nothing's there now.
That's wild. And I think there was some like through MUFON and other channels, I saw like these columns of light that were photographed. In that same in Elbert County, Colorado, we had a man and his significant other on a Harley, and they're over by the canyons in Franktown, Colorado, and big column, just like what is seen in Utah. I'm like, what's with these columns? It's so unusual. Anyway, not to get off the topic. Okay, so what food are you going to serve this extraterrestrial from the future?
Oh, let's just do pizza. I mean, pepperoni pizza is super easy, right? Everybody loves pizza.
That's forever.
Pizza.
I love it. Okay, and what music would you like to expose them to? What kind of music or song?
I think it would be really fun to listen to like timeless classics and stuff that represent different genres. So kind of like have a sampling of different cultures would be really cool.
I like that.
You're so good. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good answer, because I think, musically you can learn a lot about the whole planet Earth.
Yeah, like what's our mixtape? What's on your mixtape and what's on mine? Let's find out.
That's cool. Oh yeah, I wonder if they have music on other planets and what that would sound like. Maybe just like beep boop beep boop. Okay, and then what movie or film would you?
Right.
Okay, and what movie would you want to watch with the ET friend?
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is just such a classic because it has so much to do with everything that Jeff and I have been doing over the last year or so, trying to replicate Jacques Vallée's experiments, which were all emulated in that movie by Steven Spielberg. And so I think it would be fun to watch with them, and it would be kind of like a comedy to watch together, compared to the real thing. Yeah.
Right. How close are we really? And it begs the question, what does Jacques Vallée know about Mount Wilson Ranch? I wonder,
Yeah, we found his projectors, we found his light and sound projectors and got them working again. And we got results when we used them too.
Cool.
Yep. So maybe some of that film has ties to Mount Wilson Ranch that we're unaware of. That's really interesting. Okay, you get one question to ask your ET buddy. What one question would you ask?
How long have you been interacting in my life? Like how far back? Like I would want to know about certain experiences in my childhood and have some validation to know if that was them or not.
Oh, cool. All right. We're going to get to that because I'm curious now what those are after we get to Jeff's answers. Okay, Jeff. So what type of ET are you meeting with?
Oh, I'm going to go right underneath and I'm going to go right to the slee stack.
The slee stack.
Yeah, I'm going back to the lost days, and what I'm projecting is underneath of me.
Cool. All right. All right. And where are you going to meet with your extraterrestrial?
Oh, like Carl said, we're going to hang out on the top of Mount Wilson in the dark.
That sounds like
in the dark.
Yeah.
And what food are you going to serve?
Well, Carl got me on the pizza, so I'm going to have to say some pork roll, egg, and cheese.
Nice.
If you know what that is, but it's a New Jersey thing, believe it or not.
I don't know. I
Mm.
learned about all sorts of different dishes here. I had Paul tell me about, or no, who was it? It was Canada. It was Jason Gillimet. He was telling me about these Canadian cheesy fries with the gravy
with
and
the
the curds.
The curds in it. Yes.
So okay, now I got 2 new things I got to try. And what music are you going to play, Jeff?
We're gonna listen to some Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah.
Watch the stars.
Putin, yes.
Nice.
Perfect. And what movie? You can't pick Close Encounters.
Yeah, he got me on that. I'm not a big
Sure you
movie
can.
buff, but that was my favorite movie, and that would be it. But I'm gonna say, I mean, if I'm gonna go into my favorite movie, let's go into Convoy. Little trucker action, back to the day.
Wow,
Tim
I haven't heard anybody mention Convoy in a long time.
There you go.
That's
Put that hammer down.
Yes.
Nice.
And you got to play the song too, right?
You know it.
That sounds a Convoy. That's great. That is great. All right, what one question do you have for the ET?
Oh, can you take me to your underworld?
Okay. So you think they may be living underground?
Yeah, I've got I look into everything. My whole life, everything's been pointed up. Everything tells you to look up, look up, look up. If I'm going to listen to Mr. Bigelow, and, I think he's a little more knowledge than a lot of us, he points out they're right beneath you. Look, they're right under our noses.
Look down. There you guys have it. Okay, everybody, forget the what's up. We are now MUFON, look down.
What's down?
MUFON, look down. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay. All right, thanks. Those are excellent answers, and it kind of tells us a little bit more about you guys personally. So, Carl, I'd like to ask you about your early experiences. It sounds like you've had some.
Yeah, so I had a shared what you would classify as an abduction experience when I was like 11 years old.
Oh my.
Over at a friend's house where him and I were both basically woke up in the night. And when I woke up, I've only really fully told this story on another podcast that hasn't even come out yet. So you guys are getting kind of the scoop on it. But
thanks for sharing.
Yeah, but he like when I woke up, we decided to sleep downstairs in the lower area in this living room where he had this big projection TV that we thought was cool. And so we were watching TV and turned it off, went to bed. And when I woke up, I looked over and my friend was already like sitting fully upright and like he was like trying to scream out loud, but there was no sound coming out. And there was this entity like down at his ankles trying to grab his legs through the sleeping bag, like trying to grab a hold of him. And so then I started panicking because at the same time, this all happened like so fast, I looked down and there was a second one that is doing the same thing, trying to grab at my legs and my ankles, but it's like their hands are like staticky and they're like going through my legs. Like it can't really get a hold or a grip, but it's trying. And behind these two, where the hallway is supposed to be that would go down to the bedrooms and this bathroom, is just this giant, like a spinning tunnel that looks like a water slide going down into the dark. Like there's this black tunnel going down with this spinning energy, like smoke around it, kind of like oily smoke looking stuff. And then the weirdest part is behind these two entities up on the side of this spinning opening is a third one that was taller. And it sounds crazy, but it had like this magic wand looking thing, just literally like out of Harry Potter in its hand. And it was like taller than the other two and looked different. And when I noticed that third one, it was like all of a sudden lights out. And next thing I know, it's not like I fell asleep. It's like all of a sudden I realize I'm like opening my eyes, coming out of a daze, and I'm looking up at something I don't understand, like this weird wooden thing with this metal thing. And it took me a second. I realized now all of a sudden I'm upstairs underneath the kitchen table. And I'm looking at the bottom of the kitchen table and I don't remember moving or going up there. My friend is there, and he's under the table too, and he's also already awake and looking around confused. And immediately he started crying, and we ran outside out into the backyard, and we both remembered all of it, like what they looked like,
Wow.
what happened, and we sat there and talked about it, all freaked out. And that was like my first experience. And then after that, it was more like weird shadow figures and sleep paralysis incidents for me, like in my life growing up off and on, that would happen occasionally, and still even in my adulthood now once in a while. But most of it, when I've talked to my friend again, he remembers all of that, but nothing ever happened to him after that, according to him. So I don't know, but that was my first big one. Yeah.
Wow. Did you talk to your parents about this at all?
I kind of tried, but I grew up very like what you would consider an Orthodox Mormon religious perspective. And so to me, the whole thing, like to go to my parents and go to church leaders and things, or to go to my family, was all going to get packaged up like demons. Like I had got like, which meant like I was tormented by it for a long time, because I thought it meant that I had done something wrong, or that meant that I was a bad kid. And so that really, that kind of messed with me for a while. I thought maybe I had done something, that had attracted this to happen to me. I've matured since then, and I totally understand all of this way more differently. In fact, I'm way more proactive, to where I'm doing all this consciousness and meditation training to try and like go to their front door and knock and see what's up, rather than wait for them to come to me, type of a thing. So I take a different approach altogether now.
You bring up some really good points. A lot to unpack right here. But first and foremost, I'd like to talk a little bit about this hitchhiker phenomenon that skinwalkers at the Pentagon kind of coined the phrase, or at least I talk about that hitchhiker phenomenon. Question number one for both of you guys: do you, or did you, compartmentalize the different types of activity? Because when we're talking about these high strangeness ranch locations, we run the gamut of phenomena, right? From the paranormal to the UFOs to the cryptids, which I also want to talk about. But when did you connect those, if you connect those? And also, do you feel like I talked to Jeff here at the beginning of the show, that these earlier experiences, maybe it was targeted more towards you, Carl, than say your friend? And were you set on a course that you're continuing on to this day? And do you feel like that's the case?
Yeah, I'll just keep going, since I just told that story to answer that. It totally has unfolded to the point that, like, even just me talking about Wovoka and the ghost dance earlier, and how that all ties in, to me is now part of this synchronicity that has unfolded all the way back to when my Native American friend Roger, from the project that we work on together, when he started trying to get me to understand the ghost dance and things, and what was going on in Nevada, he finally sent me a picture of Chief Wovoka. And when I saw it, it was like a PTSD moment for me, where all the hair on my neck stood up, because it was just like the shadow figures that would appear in my bedroom as a kid. This man with the hat, this big brimmed hat and a tall hat. And it was like looking at a photo of the real man that would come and get me when I was a kid. And the fact that now all the petroglyphs, and where I've been going into these ancient locations, and the stone circles and spirals I've been obsessed with for 3 years, and how I wound up at Mount Wilson Ranch, this ancient site, and all of that synchronicity is, to me, is just like a symphony and a flow that I'm riding right now. It's just like a music that I'm going along with the universe, and where it takes me, and answering all these questions back to my childhood and all kinds of stuff that used to scare me as a kid, but now it all makes sense. Yeah.
I can relate to you. I wanted to ask you if you lucid dream or interact with your dreams. I too had the shadow figures from the ranch years. And for like 3 months, I had this crazy thing about aluminum, quasi crystals, and spirals. So much so that I'm like, I need like a protocol of these spirals. And it haunted me for years. I don't know what these spirals mean, but we saw them on the petroglyphs. Do you have any idea what the spiral represents?
Yes, it's part of the core sacred frequency and geometry of the whole universe that's connected to who we are as conscious beings. And looking at that spiral and certain petroglyphs and understanding that is like quantum entangling with the core Fibonacci sequence and that music of the universe. And when you tap into that, it's like getting off of our normal frequency and default mode of reality that we're in. And you get to suddenly perceive or get a glimpse of these alternate dimensions, either through lucid dreaming or remote viewing or out of body travel, and all of these different things that the government knows about and uses in their secret spy programs. And a lot of those guys were up at Mount Wilson, but I utilize all those now, mixed with like Native American and Buddhist techniques to kind of explore this whole topic. But yeah, to me, it's all interconnected. And the spiral is, I think, something that naturally came out, like when Wovoka, when he reawakened the ghost dance to the Paiute people, they would go in a spiral and make stone spirals in the ground. And it had to do with the rotation of the Big Dipper rotating around the North Star, and the whole synchronizing yourself and your consciousness with the rhythm of the entire universe and the solar system, all the way up and all the way in and all the way out. It's just that whole message.
It's beautiful. It's about frequency too, and just kind of aligning your frequency and elevating your frequency as you go through life and try to sort all this stuff out. So I have a question about the paranormal and the UFO aspects of this. And on the ranch, have you guys, are there any Bigfoot? Have you seen any Sasquatch? What can you tell us about that?
Katie, you could actually speak about that.
Well,
what did you see, Katie?
Yeah, you guys had one, right?
Well, that was a question I had, because we were hiking up to that cave, and it was kind of like, it was a beautiful day. We got lucky with the weather, but there were patches of snow. And just like in season 1 of Beyond Skinwalker at the Rocky Mountain Ranch, where it was blizzarding, we had our headlamps on, and out of nowhere were these bipedal prints, footprints in the snow, and then they disappeared and came back up and disappeared. Well, here we are getting close to the cave, and we get up to this section. I think I have a picture of me by this round sacred circle, and there was a like a skull somebody had placed there, and I'm kneeling next to it. But we look off over to the snow, and there were some unusual prints in the snow. Now, I asked Jeff, do you guys have Sasquatch up here? Now, a couple things about these prints. Chanel, I think I have pictures of those prints up there on the ridge. I think it's labeled Bigfoot ?
Look at that.
Right. So first of all, the stride isn't that wide, but you can clearly see like toes, and you can almost see an arch of a foot. But what is interesting to me, if it was a Sasquatch, like you would think the weight would be heavy. Yeah.
Right.
At first I had I had like quarters in my pocket, and I was trying to toss quarters. So I was trying to be all smart, like, let's put something I can measure, but it kept going. The quarters kept falling into the snow. So somewhere up there now is like 75 cents.
Right.
But I managed to reach out with my hand and put this piece of equipment, this Geiger reader or whatever, to try and get some measurements to them. But I thought that, I mean, if they're interdimensional, are they just like apparitions, so they're not as heavy? Because you'd think if it was a heavy Squatch or a baby Squatch, they would go down deeper. I don't know. What do you guys think of this, Jeff and Carl? I mean, have you seen things up there before, or is this like a first, or what? But it was
that
cool
was
to
a
see
first
that.
for me to see marks like that, for sure.
Really?
We haven't encountered that there before.
Wow.
They're following me.
Yeah, there's
I don't
different
know.
tracks. I haven't at Mount Wilson. I've been to other locations where, I've totally been on Bigfoot expeditions. My opinions, you asked earlier, like, when did it come together, or did it come together, like the separation between like UFOs and the paranormal? To me, it was like kind of after a Bigfoot hunt that I went on, where I was totally like, the whole talk of interdimensional stuff was just like a joke to me. It was folklore. It didn't make any sense. But now I've totally come to terms with that and understand it. And the experiences that I've had have all been more like supernatural, multimedium things where I see a shadow figure that looks like a physical creature that actually leaves physical evidence. But then before the whole experience is over, there's a big ball of light floating over the campfire, like weird stuff like that, where it's all mixed together. And trying to keep it all separate, I think, is kind of a perception that the government and the Pentagon honestly want us to have so that they can control the secrets. But I think it's way more all around us all the time and has to do with the quantum entanglement and the misunderstanding that we have of linear time and how all that works. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. The programming that we're all, I feel like puppets, or, they want to keep us controlled, and let's run the program that we're supposed to run. Can you guys speak about that? And an experience I had there too in visiting the ranch. I actually had it twice. We went out the first night. It was a beautiful, you could see the Milky Way, stars are really bright, moon was low, and had a couple just quick flashes. And then the second night, I was in where like the saloon building is, and then they have the rooms in a building across from it. And I think I was going to grab, I don't know, slippers, a coat, whatever I was grabbing. And I was coming back. I was by myself, and I just stopped to look at Orion. And I'm like, okay, if you're out there, show me a sign. And this light was like this big in the sky. It was huge. It was a flash, and then flash, and then flash. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't a plane. And I'm screaming. I'm like, anybody come witness. I was the only one to witness that, but it was cool. It was like, all right, that was really cool. I don't know what that is, but let's talk about the CE5 protocols and the ability to, get those little winks and nods. Have you guys practiced that out there on the ranch? What have your results been? And what do you feel like all of us can do to do that wherever we are?
What about you, Jeff? What do you do to make contact when in your own way?
Oh, here it's just natural. I mean, you just walk outside and you're making contact. I mean,
Just
pretty much
be yourself.
yeah, the amount of light anomaly and unexplained things in the sky here, there's way too many of them. It's common occurrence. Back to even when I was purchasing this from Mr. Bigelow, he stated to me that there's, it's a common thing here to see lights in these, he said football-sized ships that would actually like morph into the mountain is what he called it.
Wow.
And I never saw a football stadium-sized ship, but I've seen a lot of these lights that just, they just come and go from the mountain. It's, and they'll make different curves, and, they'll come in on like a curve and swing right in and drop right in and disappear into the mountain. And it seems to be normal here.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
So
far as
nothing
like,
special.
Where are they going in the mountain?
And how do they get through the mountain?
how do they phase
apparently,
in and out?
yeah, we've heard it turns into this vibration, and that's how they just enter in and out. They go through.
Wow.
They go from a solid to a vibration to in, and then they vibrate and they come out.
It's frequency.
And that's how they can apparently go into this fixed Earth thing.
Interesting.
You
As
need
far
a,
as the, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go
As
ahead.
far as
Carl.
that whole CE5 and trying like contact methods and what we've tried, we've done a ton actually. I mean, personally, I do a lot of the contact protocol in my own version. Like even the Monroe Institute has what they call the gateway process, which is really a high level advanced method of creating mind palaces where you visualize and imagine rooms and doorways to access these other dimensions. And so you train yourself through these proactive meditations. And you through that process, as you go through the rooms and doorways, there's different tools and objects and things that you do in order to basically go from where you're at now to these other planes of reality to communicate with these other dimensions and entities there. So when you combine that sort of approach with the CE5 at its core, which is this idea of like how to reach out with your consciousness into this field of energy and let them know where you are and that you want to make contact to anything that's listening. It's kind of like bird calling or whatever. And so you do that in a way that for me personally, I think matters to have it to do with the area that you're at and the history and the culture of the things there, and to respect that. So like when I go to Mount Wilson, it's all focused on the shaman and the native artifacts there. And then with that is this strange frequency that comes in, this pulsing alien signal that comes up from the ground that pervades that whole experience. So there's this indigenous spiritual esoteric experience going on when I go there that invades my dreams, where I'm dreaming about my dad who died and all this other stuff. But then through that, I'm waking up feeling like I'm being scanned by some tractor beam, or I'm getting a software update, like vibrating through my body and stuff, you know? And so there's this artificial signal that we're also zeroing in on. So beyond just the CE5, we're using technology, and we're using like sound sensors and highly sensitive infrasound magnetometers and all kinds of stuff to be able to detect these ultra low pulsing frequencies and zero in on them and actually talk to this thing, where we project the sound frequencies back into the earth and then see if it communicates back. And it does. Whatever's there, it totally does. And all of that's going to be coming out in the next season of the Beyond Skinwalker. I hate to tease it like that, but that's when they came with the technology, we were able to literally do close encounters of the third kind stuff with Jacques Vallée's old projectors overlapped with modern stuff. So we had advanced lasers, sound, and light projection equipment on top of the old stuff going at the same time. And we got some crazy stuff that happened when we started doing that out in the meadow.
Oh, I can't wait for that. And like you guys, I think you guys did 2 episodes. We did 2 episodes too. And we're both under the same non-disclosure, so we can't really talk too much about what happened until after they air. But how do you guys feel about Beyond Skinwalker and, you know, them pulling this information from the different locations? I mean, do you guys see that as, you know, a good thing, or has it been a good experience? And you guys want to speak to that a little bit?
It's
Jeff?
definitely been a good experience. I mean, we're actually getting some, you know, the funding to do things like this and experiments and really figure this out. I couldn't do this on my own, you know, again. So now reaching out, let's say to Carl, and then reaching out, you know, as we're going through the show, research is getting done. You know, and like you said, can we dig? Yeah, we can dig. We're gonna dig. We're gonna, you know,
can we blow stuff up? You guys are blowing stuff up. We're shooting rockets, and you guys are blowing stuff up.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, hold on. I have a question for Carl here. I got to get to the picture. Hold on a minute. My computer's on a delay. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but I certainly am. Okay, here we go. Right here. Okay. Is this a coffee mug? I'm like, that is the size of coffee mug that I need every morning. So I thought that was a great picture, and I had to ask.
That is one of those big chowder coffee mugs. So you talked earlier about the synchronicities in our lives. That bowl, that cup right there is one of them, because that was handmade by one of our YouTube subscribers and Patreon followers named Patrick O'Malley. Now, he came up just because he got interested in watching my YouTube channel, and so he joined the Mount Wilson Patreon. Him and his wife just flew out from Florida to come visit the ranch. And Jeff and Patrick were back in the back room looking through stuff. And that's when they found Jacques Vallée and Bigelow's old light projectors.
Oh, that's so cool.
And out of everybody on the planet, Patrick was like, oh, I used to put those apart and fix them all the time back in the day. And so when we
happened to be there,
he just happened to be there. So when we were ready to film for the History Channel, he actually flew back out from Florida and came and was able to repair that equipment and get it running again.
Wow.
And we were able to use it on the TV show to get the results. And he also does pottery and brought those big cups as a gift. So that was a really cool thing that he even ended up there. It was like cool. 1 in a million chance that he was there and knew how to fix that machine.
That's cool. And of all the pictures I chose to grab, it was that one. So we
Oh,
could
yeah.
tell this story. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm like, oh, I love that bull. That's great.
That's
Very much. So let me ask you guys both, Jeff and Carl, a question here. So do you guys feel that when you start to investigate and you're really digging and you're reading books and you're trying to connect the dots, does the activity increase for you guys? And what do you think that's about if it does?
I mean, the last time the show was here,
Uh-huh.
after the explosions, there was definitely physical effects on people that lived around here.
Oh,
Little
Can you
equilibrium
elaborate on
loss,
that? Yeah.
equilibrium, like a loss of balance. Knick-knack was completely affected. You know, she lost her balance after that for a month.
wow.
That's kind of scary. I mean,
You know,
yeah. Why do you think perhaps, and both of you can take a stab at this, because I've noticed, and I'm sure Tara has too, and others, that for whatever reason, certain people tend to be more affected or follow certain people more so than others, or certain people can interact with the phenomenon more so than others. Can you speak about that and why you think that might be?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Talking about the hitchhiker phenomena, going to these places, I definitely experienced something strange like that the first time I went to Skinwalker Ranch. And even as I'm here right now in my other room, in the living room of my house, I have a sensor that was built by a scientist named Jim Segala that has a whole array that can tell if anything comes and goes into my house. And we're actively tracking when I have abduction or strange paranormal experiences. Just like a couple of nights ago, I had an experience where I woke up and I thought that the sun was coming up because there was a bright light coming through my bedroom windows.
Right.
And then it was like that same vibration that Jeff and I both get. It was like this pulsing that goes boom and vibrates up through my body for like 2 seconds. And then it turns off for like 7 seconds. And then it turns on again and then off again. And it's like something scanning my body or trying to update my software. It feels very artificial and strange, right, Jeff? Like,
I mean, here especially, you could say that because we have absolute silence.
Yeah.
Not a vibration in the, nothing other than whatever's coming from this ground. And like you said, it's different tones, it's different pulses. You don't know whether you hear it or feel it, but it's there. You know exactly what it is. Again, who knows? Going into, let's say, into this paranormal, though, that's where I'd say it's funny here at the ranch because myself and Knick-Knack don't really see this shaman entity. We only get told about him from people that come here. I keep looking over at my Jacques Vallée book here. It's noted in his book about this tall native shaman that shows up here at the ranch. And even in Carl's story, we can go a little further because he was here with the same gentleman that talked about the freezers. This gentleman also was here the morning that apparently Mr. Bigelow was chased off the property by whatever this entity is. Now, again, what does that mean?
He wants to sell.
So as you speak, Jeff, Tara is private messaging me that she's seen the lights behind you change from like this red glow to an orange glow. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching and I just saw it twice. So I don't know if this is
Over
a
your
camera
right ear.
artifact. Yeah. Or what, but your lights behind you are changing color.
So those are in the mirror and that's back there. And
There it goes.
There they go. They're orange.
No. Well, I was sitting here and something I checked out something, like you said, who knows? Who knows what that is? I try not to pay attention to it. I live here, so
we're getting ready to get more of those sensors like that one that I have in my house, like that event that I had.
Orange again.
Oh, geez.
We're gonna put those sensors in and try to catch it because we're getting like when these events happen, we can go and look at the data. Like my friend Jim, who built the device, I had that experience with the vibrations at night. And then before I could even go look on the website to see if the sensor caught anything, he was messaging me saying, at 3:00 in the morning, you had a huge spike in gamma radiation and microwave radiation in
Wow.
your house for some reason. And so we can correlate this data. So it'll be interesting if we can line up, like when Jeff is experiencing it and I'm experiencing it if it's happening at the same time and
Right.
actually connected to the ranch or something.
Right.
But
That's so
very
interesting.
interesting.
That
And we
quantum
had,
entanglement.
right.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
we have so much in common because here, I'm telling you, Jeff, they keep changing from red to orange as I'm watching you. Anyway, yeah, so I'm about an hour and a half away from the Rocky Mountain Ranch property. And after filming, I get an increase in things flying off the wall, paranormal, almost poltergeist stuff here. Yeah, you saw him too, Kathleen, right? We're not all going crazy here. I'm like, see, he got a button, he's changing the colors. But my question for you, because we often hear people say that the hat man or these shadow figures are
Yeah.
negative. What are your feelings about that, Carl? Do you feel they're negative or positive in your life, or what are your thoughts on that?
So my experience initially for most of my life was that it was just like a trauma. It felt like I was being kidnapped or being like
Oh.
taken out of my room at night, and I didn't understand it at all. But the work that I've done since then, especially as an adult, when I was able to finally get away from the organized religion and look at the world and ancient cultures, and especially talking with my Native American friends, they really, really helped me understand it all. And to me now, I utilize those experiences almost like these are, travelers on the astral plane, or, people in my group or my family from alternate planes of reality that basically come and take my consciousness out of body, and we go do work on the other side, or we go do other things. And so I have this life that I live day to day when I'm awake and living my physical life and paying my bills and all that. But I have this whole other augmented reality in my consciousness where these interactions occur. And now when I have these experiences, what I felt like I was being abducted, now I realize is just the experience of what it's like to have your awareness and consciousness detached from the antenna of the brain and the body and taken into these other frequencies of reality that exist around us to see and travel and do other things.
Wow.
And so I've learned how to do that on my own now, and do that in a way through those tools, creating the mind palace and all those different rooms where I go there on my own, and it's less like getting hijacked, if that makes sense. So now I go and show up and interact with these different places and different beings that used to just come and sort of take me when I was a kid.
I think that's fascinating, and thank you for sharing that. It's just, I think a lot of people share those experiences to some degree. You figure out your own way to cope and to frame it so that you can go through on a daily basis. You were talking about like interacting with these entities or whatever it is, but then you were also talking about like the CE5. Do you think that interacting is kind of the CE5 as well? I mean, isn't it kind of the same thing? And do you need to really call them because they know where you are? You can't really hide, right? I mean, you can pull the covers up over your head and they'll still find you no matter where you are.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like that whole idea of sort of like waiting for it to arrive, or versus going fishing, and trying to like actually be proactive. And so
Interesting.
to me, when I look into the ancient cultures and go visit the ancient petroglyph site, there's all this symbolism, and even carved out and stacked in false doorways and things that represent like going to nowhere, going to the other side or whatever. And so to me, it's like just different ways of approaching it. Like certain types of meditation, you're basically just trying to sit and relax and go to Zen and be at peace and be at a zero space or whatever in the mind and in the soul. But then there's other like CE5 where you're trying to basically reach out telepathically and tell them your exact GPS locations and be like, anybody that's out there, we want you to show up and not just communicate in our mind, but we want to see you. And anything throughout the past and all time into the future, all dimensions, we invite to come and make an appearance, and you sort of summon that, so it's more like a direct knocking on the door sort of approach rather than just waiting for them to show up.
And do you ever worry about summoning something that might not be so good?
Yep.
You bet.
And how do you protect yourself against that? Do you have anything that you do to help with that?
To me, again, it's all with I refer to the indigenous methods, the Native American methods, and things like that. For me, it has to do with just the integrity and the sincerity of the approach. Whenever I've involved friends or colleagues of mine that have taken it sarcastically, they have either literally, physically, and even mentally got hurt over time when they dabble with the stuff and don't take it serious. So yeah, it's not really a joke to me, but for me, it's like, I don't really have a choice. I've been experiencing it since I was a kid. So to me, I just have to, something I have to tackle. Just like if I was born with a disability, I have to sort out.
No, that you brought that up earlier, that you need to have a good respect or a deep respect for the land, its indigenous people. And I think one of our listeners just asked again, can you go over the indigenous people of the area of Mount Wilson one more time?
Yeah, it was mostly the Paiute and Northern Paiute, as well as the Goshen tribe. There was also the Shoshone tribe that came down from the north. And then there was other older cultures that go back farther. They call the basket maker culture, the Fremont people, and then they just call them desert archaic, which is like just Stone Age people. But when you get back into desert archaic era, that's when it gets really weird, and you get into these interesting legends of the giants and little people and mythology of communication with the star people coming down, and the petroglyphs suddenly jump back 10,000, 13,000 years ago and get really mysterious.
Right. Have you guys looked into the geology of the area? I know we talked about gold being present. Is there any things, any minerals or things that are more rare that are found there? And also water features. Have you looked into aquifers, or are there river streams? Because I know, at least in my research, you know, I feel like some of these are important features to have all kind of together, the high magnetism, the water, the geological things. So can you speak a little bit about what's around the ranch?
Jeff knows all that geology and the mining history of the mountain a lot more than me.
Yeah, this is like an ancient seabed. Mount Wilson is an old volcano, you know, so it's a volcanic origin.
There goes the lights.
Yeah, there's a lot of mineral content in the ground around here at different layers as it was distributed on the lake bed or on the ocean floor, whatever this was, whatever surface, you know, the seabed was. You know, bismuth is what we're looking for. You know, stuff of that sort. But there's every mineral you could basically find is in Lincoln County in this area.
I have a question for you. Was the ranch ever a working ranch? Did it ever have cattle or anything, or is there anything going on with it now other than it's just for research?
Well, this was an original homestead, so it goes back to the homestead days where, you know, it survives. It had its own water source. It had its own. It was a ranch. I mean, they did farm it. They irrigated it. They dammed off Craw Creek and made farmable land. Right now, these days, you know, we have goats, chickens, horse. You know, we plenty of dogs and apple orchard
and puppies. I wanted to take home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Is there any history? These lights behind you, Jeff, they're going crazy. So they're
you know, it's funny because I don't even see them flickering at all.
Do you guys see what I'm
saying?
Maybe
I can see it.
Camera, who knows? It could be your camera trying to focus, but it's odd. It wasn't doing it at the beginning.
It wasn't doing it, until just
now
recently, and it seems it's going crazy depending on what we're talking about. And we're talking about the history of the land.
I could see it. I can see. Yeah, it's on my screen here, but I don't. Physically, I don't see it happening here.
It's really interesting. Is there a history of any cattle mutilations or anything like that in the area?
Oh, people have definitely seen a lot of mutilation, you know, dead cows laying around. I mean, on my property itself, we had I mean, what I would just call a pile of guts, no
Oh,
explanation, just out in the middle of the snow, just a pile of guts and a long line of blood, which again, 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, before I was even thinking about any of this stuff.
Mm.
But, now it means something because it's right down in the meadow, close to
Hmm.
that spot where we have a lot of weird energy.
Interesting.
Jeff, have you interviewed any of the locals that have lived there for generations? And did they have any interesting things to share with you or tales of anything?
I've heard so many awesome tales. Donna Bardeen was one of my favorites. She was an original here. She's here for 40 years or so. She hung out with Bigelow's crew. She hung out with the scientists. She had stories upon stories. Carl speaks of the three entities. Donna had one of the coolest stories of, these smelly gray creatures, two
Oh.
small ones and one taller. They smelled of sulfur,
Oh.
and she said it was a common occurrence here. She knew the shaman, she was able to communicate. When she met me, she was like pegged off. She's like, what are you, like looking at me confrontationally almost the first time. But she picked up something on me, whatever that was. I have no idea. But again, like this goes, this is, I synchronicity has it, and I'm supposed to be here for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah. Have you had any personal experiences in your life?
Nothing, like I would say that noise in the middle of the night,
Mhm.
standing in that cave with Carl, but as far as like
Yeah.
a ghost or an entity, nothing.
Except for right now.
Maybe.
Yeah. It feels like we've opened a door. This portal that they've talked about, and I've been told about. Again, here's one more story I could tell you about David Rockefeller. The weirdest encounter I've ever had, but I don't even know who the guy is for sure. I have
Uh-huh.
all of his email contacts, all of his information, but this guy just shows up out of nowhere, basically. And he explains he's one of the Rockefellers, their family, his emails, everything showed that he is. And he says plainly and bluntly right to me, he's like, yeah, I just want to go check out the portal. And,
Oh.
yeah. And he went off, he wasn't gone for long, and he came back and off he went, disappeared. I mean, it was a strange story, but Mr.
Where did
Rockefeller
he
entered the
go?
ranch.
Did he go
I
by
know.
the cave? Did he? Where did he go?
Again, for some reason, I didn't take a picture of him. I didn't do anything. He just came and went like the wind.
I
Oh,
think
that's bizarre.
sometimes you hear that. Sometimes whatever this is keeps us from doing whatever or documenting. I'm guilty of that too. When we have these incredible things, you don't think to grab a camera, or it's like a personal thing. You don't think to do that. Maybe that's all part of the plan. I don't know. But you hear it time and time
It
again.
happened to me. I mean, myself and Carl
Mhm.
talk about that all the time. That moment when that stuff happens and you lose your, and I had, almost 2 days with them and nothing.
Right.
Strange.
We had
Did
that
any-
confusion happen when the History Channel came too, when they saw the weird red eyes down in the lower meadow. Remember, they all came back up to the saloon and then were taking their coats and boots off and cleaning their cameras. And then Dave got all mad at himself, and Justin did too. And they were the producers, and they were like, we filmed documentaries in the jungle, like chasing exotic species and stuff. Why did we give up filming and come back to the saloon? Like, they got confused, remember? And then like we had over $1 million worth of digging and drilling equipment. I'm not allowed to talk about too much yet, but we had some crazy stuff happen right in the middle of that, where half of the group and production team all had a really weird deja vu experience and got all confused. And at one point I was the only one filming anything with my cell phone. It got so weird. But yeah,
Wow.
we've had group events and strange things like that happen for sure.
Everybody walking in circles, Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I just now had a weird experience because Carl just read my mind, because literally I was going to ask the question, did anybody on the film crew at Beyond Skinwalker experience anything weird? And you answered it before I asked the question. So there
Night
you
terrors.
have it. Did you guys
Wow.
have any battery drains or anything like that? I know we did at Rocky Mountain Ranch.
Oh, cool.
My battery specifically, Hillary had put brand new batteries in everybody's mics, and I felt like 10,000 knives coming down on me. My battery went from 100 to 50, and then blood pressure shot up, shaking, went to the barn, and it drained to nothing. So crazy stuff like that. Did you guys have any battery drains or any malfunction of equipment, anything like that?
Tons of equipment malfunctions. Yeah, batteries drained. The drones, the GPS signal gets completely scrambled, and it's not that it just gets scrambled. The GPS literally gets hijacked. So even though the drone is flying in a straight line over Nevada, the GPS records like it's flying over Cuba or Bermuda or other places. And we've been able to replicate that more than once. But yeah, that is super bizarre, and a lot of other weird stuff. You can mention the rest of it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, drones hitting the ground. I mean, that's common.
Right.
Drones do not fly very well around here.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely had, the last time History Channel came, over $1 million worth of equipment and gear totally get crapped out or get almost EMP like shocked. You'll see. It's really interesting.
So somebody asked about water underneath the ground, fast moving water. Like, have you discovered any water aquifers under the ground?
Craw Creek has basically gone underground, but now it's back above ground. But the whole valley down where the meadow is a fault line.
Right.
And, Craw Creek does run underneath there. So there is definitely active water running under. Whether it's at high volume or anything, or high speed, I have no idea.
And all the way up the mountain, including the shaman cave that sounds hollow in the back, and the places where we set off the explosions with the History Channel, those were all in attempts to access these old volcanic lava vent tubes that like the whole shaman cave and the type of rock formations, and then like those stacks of pink rock coming out of the ground, that's all like rhyolite stuff. Those are all evidence that there could be vast, almost like a honeycomb system of tunnels underneath that mountain if we can get inside. So the geology could totally be like a pulsating aquifer coming off that runoff. Yeah.
It just begs a question: what's going on with these ranches, in particular Skinwalker Mountain, Wilson, even the Rocky Mountain Ranch, which was the 70s near NORAD and Air Force Academy. What all these people, all these players, what are they hiding? What's underground? I mean, we had the same thing where the GPS was going to Malmstrom, to these missile silos, So a lot of questions and I just can't thank you guys enough for all the work and research you're doing.
So interesting.
It's a full-time job. It takes over your life, and I think it's important for everybody, for all of mankind. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Carl, for being here. Time flew by. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, KGRA and Bill Skywatcher, and all our listeners. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope you guys go to Mount Wilson Ranch, check out their website, check out Carl the Crusher's YouTube. I mean, there's so many videos out there to watch, and they're all so fascinating. And I can't thank you guys enough for being here. And we will see you next time on MUFON What's Up. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.